Hi, welcome to Centerville Reports Today. I'm Maureen Russell Hodson. And today we're going to tell you about a trip that the Centerville sister city took to our sister city of Bad Zwischenahn, Germany. And here to tell us more is Cindy Clay. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Maureen. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And you have been a member of the Centerville Sister City Committee for a very long time, right?
Very long time, yes, you're right.
25 years, maybe?
Going on 30 years.
Almost 30 years. So you have a long history.
I do have a
not
long
only
history.
with our sister city, but Bad Z, as we say, has been our sister city since the very beginning of when we started, right?
Yes, I've been there about 4 times now. And when we did have Waterloo as one of our sister cities, I went there as well.
And our sister city actually started, I guess, about 30 some odd years ago, right?
It did. I think about 1987 was the first, maybe the first exchange, and then they came right back. And so we've been exchanging every 6 years since.
And this was a program that President Eisenhower started back in the 50s to really bring our world closer together.
He did, and it's really worked wonders. I don't know, for our city. We've loved every minute of going there and meeting people and finding out about their cultures.
So our sister city and residents, this program was open to anyone who would like to go because you all paid your own way.
We did
throughout the trip,
do.
right? But this time you had some different stops. So typically you go, what, every 6 years?
We go there every 6 years, and then they come here every 6, but there's 3 years in between. Right. Like we've invited them for the next time to come here would be 2020, and the next time we would go would be 2023.
Okay, so we'll look forward to having some, folks might remember because we've had not only German citizens, but also students who obviously are citizens as well, but who had taken part in the program with Centerville High School.
Yes, and that's kind of on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but we're hoping to get that started again real soon.
So we hope people who watch this get real excited and want to reignite that program. Right. So we're going to show you, we're going to walk you through the trip as seen through Cindy's lens, because these are some great photos, and we'll take you through the trip that just happened in July, right? Okay. So here we go. We're starting here, obviously, with a pretty tree.
Yes, and we'll talk about that tree in just a minute. Our first stop was Amsterdam, and it's a beautiful city with thousands of bicycles, and you really have to watch out that you don't get hit by these bikes.
Right, so when you're saying thousands of bikes, you said there were just bicyclists everywhere.
You know, especially at the train stations, etc. Flower markets in Amsterdam, absolutely stunning. The problem is you can't really bring back flowers from there through customs and that kind of thing. Then we went on to Bad Zwischenahn, which is known as Ammerland because it's in the low-lying Ammerland district in Lower Saxony, Germany. And it is situated on the Meer, which is a lake called Zwischenahn, and it's about 70 kilometers south of the North Sea coast. And there's a little song that you see in the bottom, and it is something that when you drink schnapps you say to each other. So
okay, and this is actually our sister city, Bad Zwischenahn. And how many people went on the trip?
I believe 18 in all.
18.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so when you all went, some people went on the first part of the trip, but everybody went to the Bad Zwischenahn.
Everybody went to Bad Zwischenahn.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
Okay. And then we'll go ahead, because that's a really cool photo coming up. Yeah, that's beautiful.
There are many old buildings there, and this is St. Johannes, and it dates back to the 1200s. And their speaker in Bad Zwischenahn goes back to the 1800s and is famous for its wonderful food, especially its eel dinners.
Did you have eel?
Not this time, but we have had eel before, and it's very tasty. It's very kind of oily a little bit, but it's very tasty. And with brown bread and schnapps, it really tastes good.
And when you arrived, you stayed with host families, right?
We did, and I'm going to show you those in just a second here.
Okay.
Sabina Kruger from Bad Zwischenahn's Burgermeister's office was our main contact, and she did a super job of planning for our activities in Bad Zwischenahn, Germany, while we were there. Sabina and I corresponded regularly for at least a year before this trip took place.
And the Burgermeister is like
our mayor,
right?
You're right.
Yeah.
When we arrived in Bad Zwischenahn, we were welcomed by our host families in the village community house, Kehesen. Notice all the decorations there.
Yeah, very nice.
They really had decorations for German and American flags. And we had a wonderful lunch. These are the people that we stayed with, our host families. Kendall, my husband, and I stayed with Kim Fullenbach and Beata Logman.
Okay.
I'm not going to pronounce these names. Dave and Linda Spears with Miki and John Dieter Warchen. Jerry and Carolyn Bassford, Todd Kernan, and Kay Wilkinson with Baron Merlenbach.
And these folks really took you into their homes, and you actually got to stay in their house.
Right, and Baron has been here sometimes with the student exchanges, so he is very well familiar with,
Centerville, Ohio, and our more cheerful activities, right?
I understand he's making a trip back in March as well.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yes, he's a really good friend.
Okay. And we've got the Hobacks there, I see.
Okay, Dick and Marilyn Hoback stayed with Erin Trude, Snyder, Hassel, and we just call her Ernie, and she's a really great gal.
Okay. How's their English? I would imagine that's how you converse in English while you're there, right?
It's very good. Most of the time you say, do you speak English? With a question mark, and they go, a little. And their a little is quite good, actually. We can all understand each other. Or we have our word books, Sometimes we do that too. So, but it's all good time. And Susie Holloway and Diana Stein with Barbara and Volker Reb. Okay. Phil and Karen McLaughlin with Dieter Meyer and Ursula Fredericks. Joanne Schneider and Dagmar with Dagmar and Thomas Fruhoff. And there's Steve and Joanne Rao with Stefan.
She's, of course, one of our council members.
She's one of our council members. And then we have John and Sally Beals. John's a council member with John Dieter and Margaret Osmers. And they've stayed back and forth at each other's house quite frequently. And there's Baron again in the middle. And John Dieter is a former Burgermeister, mayor of Bad Zwischenahn.
Of course, Sally was our former mayor as well, Sally
She
Beals.
was. Mike and Lisa Valacchio stayed at House Amir Hotel in Bad Zwischenahn. Said it was absolutely a beautiful place, and they loved it. After lunch, we went to a park by the Mere, the lake, where a beautiful site had been selected to plant our Ohio buckeye tree.
Aha, this was the big gift then, right, from the city?
This was the gift of the city to Bad Zwischenahn. It was ordered in Bad Zwischenahn, and the buckeye tree was quite beautiful. Had actually been planted in June, when the weather would be better for its start. Brunn's Nursery is very famous there. It's a huge nursery in Bad Zwischenahn, and so Mr. Bruns and I had several discussions and decided the tree should be planted.
Lovely. That's a nice gift.
Notice the beautiful colors, the streamers for Germany and the United States hanging from the tree. We came with proclamations and letters from our mayor, Brooks Compton. Bad Zwischenahn Vice Mayor Joachim Fink is with the former mayor, Sally Beals, who read the proclamation in German. Carolyn Bassford, chairman of the Centerville Sister City Committee, read the proclamation in English.
Very nice.
A little champagne was served to toast the new tree.
Had to do that, right? Welcome.
It was good. Now, we gave them a metal marker for the tree engraved in German. Okay. Little did we know, they had one prepared as well.
Oh, very nice.
So it looked really, really neat. The next day, we visited Olenberg at the University Hearing Center. We learned about German advances in hearing devices and their research on pink noise.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And then Baron again, after a hearty lunch at the Village Communal Oven, our very informative guide. He's a lifelong resident of Olenberg. Bern took us on a tour through their beautiful streets and shared with us their very interesting history. Okay. The next day we visited the Park of the Gardens in Rostrup.
Lovely.
Beautiful place. Absolutely gorgeous. And of course we can't forget the little bathing beauty there. She's lovely as well.
She's very cute, yes.
We had a lovely barbecue with host families in the evening. It was a little bit of a damp day, and most of us got pretty wet. But we had a very nice barbecue under cover that evening. And on our last morning in Bad Zwischenahn, we had breakfast all together with our host families. Notice if you look carefully, you can see the lake in the mirror in the background. Beautiful. Everyone had a wonderful time. We left an invitation for Bad Zwischenahn to come visit us in 2020, and we typically go back to Germany in 2023. Most of the group continued on to Berlin. And we rode the bus to Potsdam, visited Wittenberg, the home of Martin Luther, which is celebrating the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. We boarded the riverboat, and it took us all the way to Prague. Behind us is the doors where all those 95 theses were nailed. They couldn't nail them there today because it's bronze. This is the map that we took from of a trip that we took on the Elbe River, which ended up in Prague.
Okay.
And there's Marilyn Dick Hoback in Prague. Now, the Sister City Committee is looking for new members.
Right, so if people are saying, oh wow, I want to be a part of that, or I like to learn about new cultures, Sister City Committee is a good group to get involved with.
It's a wonderful group to get involved with, and we're always accepting members from Centerville. We would love to have people join us because it's just better if you can think of many more ideas if you've got a group of people together, and we would love to have more people on our committee.
And requirement really would be an interest in learning about other cultures and being a part of the committee, and also a Centerville resident.
A Centerville resident as well, yes.
Because I know you'd mentioned earlier that Waterloo, Ontario, Canada had been for a good bit of time a sister city, and that kind of fell off a little bit, right?
It did, and we are looking for a new sister city, French-speaking sister city, if possible. So we're still looking in Canada, French-speaking schools in Canada. We haven't ruled out going to France, but we would rather have it in Canada, which would be closer for if we had a student exchange for the students to go to as well.
So if somebody would have a contact in some way with someone in a French-speaking Canadian city,
love to go.
Definitely want you to call the city of Centerville, right? 433-7151.
We would definitely pursue it, certainly, because that's what we're looking for now.
Yeah, and the folks that you all stayed with, is it part of their sister city committee, or they're involved citizens in Bad Zwischenahn, or how are they involved?
Well, I would just have to say they don't have a formal committee, but what it is Sabine, as I said, Sabina is just wonderful, and these are people that she comes in contact with, and but they, as far as a structured committee, no, they don't have that, but they do have wonderful people. There are some that reappear year after, time after time.
Some names sound familiar.
Sometimes, time after time, they're here. But typically, she brings in some new people, like the ones that Kendall and I stayed with.
And it all comes from what we call their mayor's office there, and you all work with ours. And I know you mentioned, I want to show this real quickly if I can show it on I'll go this way. But this is a program, Cindy, I know you created that is in English and in German for the German folks that you took over, so that they kind of had a guide for who was coming over, right?
Right, they did. And what was kind of really neat is, and Mayor Compton is just so positive as far as the things that he does with our committee. And so he wrote a letter in English welcoming everybody to, or telling them how pleased we were to be going there. And then he had it translated into German. So we have a German booklet for all the people in Germany at the program of the visit. And so some of the things I took from Sabine when she wrote the program and everything. And then I put in pictures of all of our group so that they would know who we were.
And we don't have time to show everything now, but if somebody's interested in more information, I know there was a feature in Yankee Connections. If you live out Yankee Trace, you probably had a chance to see that. And there's also something in the Centerville Dispatch as well.
There was.
But more importantly, the members who went would be more than happy to talk about your trip as well, right?
We would, yeah.
So
certainly.
They have great photos, you've got great stories, and all in all, pretty fun trip.
It was a fun trip. We had a good time. We always have a good time when we go, yeah. And we always tack something on to it, not just, because we only stay for 3 nights with them. So even if you don't speak German, it's okay, because they bring in their kids and they all know German, English, as well as German.
Well, thanks for sharing the story, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.